good. Let's just post on my Discord that I'm streaming. How's the sound? Turn it up a bit. Alright. Live streaming now. And maybe I'll tweet about it. Alright. Well, if anyone's in the chat, I hope everyone's doing well. Kind of weird week this week. Just been in a weird routine. I think because I missed my Monday upload. Been really tired as well, strangely. Not like me. Where's my chat? Hey, Shorb, thanks for joining. But yeah, I wanted to talk today about just this video I made last week and some of the criticism I got. That reminds me, I did make a whole tweet thread on the criticism I got as well. So, I think it's from a whole week ago though, but I'll try and find it. And then I also want to talk about Cyberpunk and God of War, because people often think I'm trolling a bit. Okay, there we go. People often think I'm trolling with my gaming takes, but I'm not trolling. But what's fun about my gaming takes on Twitter is, like, what is the deal? Why is everything such a hive mind? Why is it so easy to bait people? Like, legit, I wrote last week, God of War is a 7 out of 10. And, like, is that controversial? It's like a good game, like 7 out of 10 is a good score. And I knew that I'd just piss people off, so I was just waiting for all the outrage comments. And I did another one today. It's like, yeah, Cyberpunk is better than God of War, which I think it is in my opinion. I way prefer Cyberpunk to God of War. And then people get so mad about it. It's just, I don't get why everyone has to love this one game so much. Just, you know, God of War is a solid game, but like, I have my problems with it. I don't think it should have been like an semi-open world game or anything. Hey Rachel, thanks for joining. Let me just switch my chat over here. You say, I appreciate your Hunter video. I've only known about him post Vosh conversation. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I only knew about him really in his modern form recently, but then obviously I had to watch some Vosh stuff because they had a big conversation and everything. But yeah, baiting people is easy. Cav is the biggest troll on Twitter. Here's the thing though. I'm not actually trolling. Okay. There's a difference between trolling and baiting, which I think is a key difference. Like, okay, what did I write yesterday about God of War? So I go back to my old one today. Oh fuck, where is it? Where is it? Oh, come on. I don't want to throw my actual tweets. Yeah. So this is just like so fucking easy, man. Like, okay, God of War won Game of the Year in IGN's like poll like round stuff. Right? Which I think is ridiculous. Like, how is this game winning best game ever made was God of War 2016? And I just said, you have to be crazy to think this is the GOAT. Shouldn't even make top 100, maybe even top 200. Is that controversial? Like, does anyone really think that like God of War is like one of the best games of all time, let alone one of the best 100 games of all time? This is the problem. Like, if you're a young gamer, and like, okay, I'm not even old, but like I've played like loads of games in my time. I can probably name 100 games I prefer to God of War, and I haven't even played like some of like the real classics on like the PS1 and stuff. Good to see you able to stream. Yeah, I wasn't gonna stream, but I was actually gonna make a video today and tomorrow, but I literally just could not think of a good topic. I might have a good one tomorrow, which I'm gonna get some feedback from the chat before I do it. What were the criticisms? Oh yeah, Fernando, I'll get onto that. Basically, people were saying to me that you have to forgive him, and it was really bizarre. Like, and obviously most of these people were white. One of them was actually a mod in Hunter Avalon's YouTube chat. But then, thankfully, a lot of my black subscribers were saying thanks for saying this, because people seem to think just because you've apologized or changed that we need to accept you and forgive you. We don't, and that's my opinion on it as well. And someone made a really good point to me. They're like, a lot of these people disagree with what you're saying because they also had like a white nationalist phase, and they don't think you're criticizing Hunter as much as you're criticizing them specifically. And Shion Head was shitting on someone who said like, basically, not everyone has a white nationalist phase. Like, I don't have to be comfortable with you around me if you've had this phase. And I think that's perfectly valid. Like, okay, it's pretty common to have some sort of like anti-SJW phase for sure. But there is a leap between that and being a white nationalist and being like a Nazi piece of shit and stuff. So anyway, like, I want to talk about all that today, because I wrote a tweet saying I find it disappointing that I got such a pushback about the end of my video, and just I'm happy that, you know, a lot of people did agree with me as well. But I find it hard. Like, people were also saying what he said's not even controversial, because this was one of the better comments I read, is because saying that I didn't pass judgment. I'm not telling people to not accept him. I was simply stating, if you're from like an ethnic minority, or you're transgender or gay, and don't want to forgive someone who literally made their fame and money off being extremely bigoted to you and radicalizing people against you, then you don't have to. Like, is that even controversial? Like, I think that's fairly normal. Again, I wasn't passing judgment on anyone who watches him. I wasn't telling you to not watch him. I wasn't trying to cancel him. I was simply stating the fact that you could have burned your bridges. Like, think about your own life, right? Think about relationships. Like, have people treated you really bad? Have you treated people really bad? How would you feel if someone who treated you really bad just expects forgiveness and everyone else tells you, well, yeah, just forgive him because he's sorry or he's changed and stuff? You don't have to forgive him. You don't have to forgive anyone if they've been horrible to you. There's plenty of people in my life. I'm a bit more like petty. I hold grudges forever. There's plenty of people I know I'd never forgive in my life, even for really like stuff that happened ages ago. Wait, when was Hunter a white nationalist? I mean, he basically was a white nationalist. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys watched that video. What would you say about watching any of that stuff? He's literally bragging about brutalizing migrants and saying it's good to brutalize migrants and refugees, and while saying America first, and build the wall. I mean, I don't really understand. I mean, politically, he wouldn't have thought he was a white nationalist, essentially, but basically, his rhetoric was really fascist. Petty King. Alright, some guy in the chat who clearly is like an old Hunter Avalon stan or something. I'll just mute him. Neo saying, I hate number scores personally. They're inherently biased and mean fuck all when you don't know about the creator either. Yeah, number scores are kind of weird sometimes. Today was a slow down Twitter. Spent all day studying for exams, but nice to see you streaming. Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, like I was saying, I wasn't going to stream this week, but I just couldn't be bothered to make a video today. Just too much effort. What do you mean by accepting him? Like, are you just talking about not wanting him to be a personal friend, or are you talking about excluding him from left-wing spaces? I mean, like, it's very specific. Like, if people in my if he joined my Discord and people in my Discord told me they didn't want him because of what he'd said, I'd ban him. If he showed up to a Black Lives Matter rally by the Black Lives Matter organization and the organizers said they weren't comfortable with him being there, then that's totally okay in my opinion. Like I'm saying, I'm not saying I'm personally going to go around and be like, what are you doing here in all these different left-wing spaces? But if specific left-wing spaces don't want him there for the damage he's done, and that's what people need to remember. It's the point I made in the video. He doesn't have to be an online minor celebrity, right? He could have just deleted his channel and changed, but he wants to remain an online personality, right? So if you want to remain an online personality, you have to accept that stuff. You have to accept people might not want you in their online spaces because, and also people making the argument, well, he's not deleting his old videos because it's going to tank his channel. I mean, that's not really an argument against it. Like, he shouldn't have made it his whole name and channel off racism and bigotry then. If, he's one day going to change and be like, well, I don't want to delete my old videos yet because YouTube's going to tank my channel. Well, just delete your channel. Start again. Start again with a reform thing. But you want to keep your clout and your fame, which you've made off being racist. And you've built this channel on these, especially his really old videos, millions of views, hundreds of thousands of views of you being insanely racist. And, forgive me if I don't feel sorry that the options are delete the videos and tank your channel, or slowly, really, really slowly delete them because there's hundreds and hundreds of them, so you don't tank your channel. So yeah, I don't understand. Hey Kennedy, I think the best game ever is the Bratz GameCube game. No, Kennedy, you're pretending to be different. You've been exposed as a normie now. I even saw your tweet about like having like a schedule, like a decent schedule. So you're playing Fortnite, you're having like a structured day. You're not different like in the Bratz game. We all know you play Fortnite. Yeah, Soul Bunny. The only reason I didn't watch that Professor Flowers thing as much as I wanted to is that it's like 3 hours long or something. I just can't be bothered with that. Like, there's a limit to my patience with stuff like that, and 3 hours. Although, like, I will say, the main problem I think for people like Vosh and others in terms of racism is that like people don't understand. Like I've talked about this a lot. Racism as a white supremacist hierarchy, because Vosh saying he likes Malcolm X, but black nationalism is the same as white nationalism, or black nationalists are basically black Nazis and stuff, is obviously super disingenuous. But to a lot of people who don't understand that racism is like a white supremacist power structure, they think that makes sense. Well, you're a black nationalist, that is like a white nationalist, so that's the same thing essentially. Where of course, if you know anything about black history and even like the power dynamics of like race as this social construct, then you wouldn't say something like that. Like even if black nationalists were all black Nazis, it's still not necessarily the same thing as white nationalists, because what do white nationalists want essentially and realistically want as well? Like white nationalists, and I've spoken about this a lot, the normal, and here's something I got a question for people. I was going to write on Twitter. Can anyone make the argument for me that the Republican Party in America isn't a fascist party? I really need to hear some arguments against it. The only thing I'd say from traditional fascists is that they support Israel, but their support of Israel is based on racism. It's not based on a love of people who want this Jewish state and stuff. So if anyone can try and counter it, is there an argument against the Republican Party essentially just being a normalized fascist party? I don't see any difference with the Republican Party and something like German far right parties, or Britain First in the UK or something like that. That's what I'd like. For people, someone try and even just playing devil's advocate, even if you feel the same way as me. Is there any way you could make the argument that the Republican Party is not a fascist party at the moment? I'm normally pilled, it's true. Venom 2 is a big pile of shit. I mean, I would never even watch the first one. It just looked crap anyway. Kevin saying, I'm glad you criticise him and other former right-wingers like Hunter. Keep up the good work, especially now folks like Shu desperate to have it both ways and failing miserably. Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not trying to cancel people, and I have like massive problems with Vosh especially the way he speaks to like black people on these type of issues. But even with AOC, who obviously was a bit of a joke what she did the other day with voting present, I generally try and see people as like tools or facilitators of stuff. Like, you know, a lot of you guys have told me you like Vosh, or you've watched Vosh in the past, or he helped you change your politics, and that's all well and good. And that's why I don't want to cancel people like him, because I see them as serving a purpose. But at the same time, when it becomes dangerous is go on the Vosh subreddit and read all the stuff there. It's like a little cult, and it's obviously like part of his parasocial relationship with content creators, but it gets a bit worse when you basically take someone's politics and make it your own politics. I don't think anyone should do that. Like, if you're just getting your politics from me, which I doubt many of you are, because I'm not a straight up political channel. I am very political though. I would say, well, that's bad, because you don't want to just be like, you know, believing everything I do because I've come to conclusions in a certain way anyway, which maybe you don't understand how I've got to that conclusion, but you still just like my take. So I think it's important to like, yeah, you can look up to people and like agree with generally their political positions, but I think people like Vosh especially have a very fanatical fan base which will not accept real criticism of him. And especially when, you know, traditionally I feel like American leftists don't really have a good, white American leftists specifically, a good take on international politics, or, you know, even things like racism in their own country against African Americans and stuff. Not always people you should be listening to on everything. And that's why I'm a bit hesitant. Like, and it's a real thing. Like, people like Sean Head is pals with Vosh, Hunter Avallone is pals with Vosh, so they get normalised more. And then when they have like a really yikes take about something, people try and downplay it and act like they've changed and stuff, but they haven't changed really. I want to make one of these videos on the Sean Head, like these history ones, just to like show, you know, maybe how people like her haven't really changed that much. Why you talk about Hunter hasn't called people subhuman? Did I say he did? Alright, GOP is functionally a fascist party. I'm an American, and the Republican Party has definitely become a cult, and at least fascist lights. Hikmet saying one would have to be an uneducated buffoon to think Republicans aren't fascists. They believe in the democratic process as long as they're in charge. But the thing is, you know, Republicans would happily make the US a dictatorship if they got the chance, because they're kind of, you know, with their gerrymandering projects and of everything like that, they are going in that direction anyway. They're further to the right than UKIP. I mean, probably. Yeah, Isabel, I tweeted about that today. Destiny, Vosh, and Hassan have super fanatical fan bases. Yeah, I really hope I never get a fan base like that. I guess, what can you do, really? Hey, Leo, thanks for joining. Fascists and other fringe right-wingers use Trump as their way into the mainstream political party. Yeah, but I don't even think it's just a Trump thing. It's like I was talking about in my video yesterday, the Ronald Reagan stuff with white evangelicals. It's like all caught up in that embrace of that fanatical religion as well. What are your thoughts on the Vosh Professor Flowers drama? I mean, I haven't watched it, but based on his history of these issues, I'd be more willing to listen to her side of it than his. You know, it's a guy who argues with people about genocide while bragging the US dabbed on North Korea when it bombed 25% of their citizens, calling black nationalists white the same as white nationalists, you know, shit like that. What's your opinion on anarchism? I don't know enough about it to really have an opinion. Hey everyone, hey Nick. Yeah, I think they're younger as well. Like, I swear to God, all of them are like 15 years old or something. How do I define fascism? I mean, in in the US, I think it's like a ultra conservatism mixed with this ultra religion, in totally in bed with like private interests and a willingness to spread authoritarianism, I guess, which all fits in with the GOP. I mean, the US is interesting because I think if we're going to call the Republican Party fascist, of course, white people dominate the Republican Party, but we also have like some Latino elements as well. So it's not like straight up old school Anglo-Saxon white supremacist, but I still think it's fascist. Telling people what to do is a democratic thing. Oh, I'll just forget. The GOP is outlawing abortion and trans healthcare for trans people. I watch anime. I'm probably never going to watch anime because it's just a massive waste of time to try and watch 1,000 episodes of something. I don't think so. 255 AD. If you're running a left wing space and someone like Hunter comes in, I think you have to wait. I don't think you do. If you don't want, the thing is, here's the thing. In the sum of his career, he's been a way more damaging person than he'll ever help people. Right? And that's just something I said in the video. He has to live with that. As an online personality, he's been a largely damaging force, and nothing he does or says going forward is ever going to be more than what he did before, because that's what he built his popularity on, and he's not going to get that popular based on his new politics, because he's just not. So if you automatically don't want that guy there, I'm talking about like online, like curated online spaces. Like I'm talking about like my Discord or like my live stream chat or something like that. I'm not talking about like trying to get some people like him to vote for universal healthcare or vote for like Bernie Sanders or, I don't know, go to a rally for Medicare for all or something. I'm mainly talking about curated things, but then like with a caveat that like if there's an organization running something, if there's LGBT organizations that don't want someone like him there, that's fair enough. And the thing is, I'm not even saying these people necessarily would be like this, but I'm saying if they were like this, then it's understandable. Fernando's saying completely fair. There's an attitude of people like Vosh on the left to forgive and be kind to people on the right who are changing. Yet also think of how hostile Vosh has been to people who call themselves black nationalists and then Professor Flowers compared to people like Siobhan Head and Hunter Avallone before they've even changed as well, allegedly changed. Rachel, hey Cav, nice to see you. My toe is much better. I might have a little fracture or something. Cheers. Oh, that's good to hear, but I'm still sad that I'm guessing you didn't go to the hospital or the doctors in the end, which sucks. I mean, he changes. Isn't the point to change minds? How can you expect people to change if you ostracize them and don't give them a chance? Yeah, but Mass, no one owes him that. Like he doesn't. No one's owed that. Like if you're in an awful relationship with someone and they come back and say like, "Well, let me be friends with you now. I've changed," and you're like, "No," and it's like, "Well, shouldn't we be accommodating? They changed." You don't owe people anything. Look, I'm like a straight white guy, right? If I don't want him if he tries to join my Discord and I ban him straight away without him ever saying anything, that's totally fine. If I want to do that, if I'm not dealing with someone like you, who although you've changed, you're like more of a centrist now. You used to be basically a fascist. I don't want you here. There's nothing wrong with that. And the thing is, like, I think people like to view everything as like more like an electoral thing. Like I don't give a shit if I ban him. He if he's a good person, so he pretends to not pretends it. He's always saying now that he will vote certain ways and have certain political positions. That's all well and good, but you burn bridges when you act like that. You burn bridges. I don't know why people on the left are so obsessed with rehabilitating white Nazis and white fascists and white people who used to be basically alt-right. What is the obsession with that? There's plenty of normal, decent people in the world who might just have like right-leaning politics or centrist politics or whatever because they don't know any better. They're not political. Not everyone has been a YouTube channel, which I've seen pop up time and again in people who say they were radicalized into the alt-right. I've had numerous people tell me personally that people like me and the serfs have helped them break out of it, but people like Hunter Avallone, Shoe on Head, Chris Reagan, Armored Skeptic, all those people radicalized them into the far right. So what's the obsession with these people? Who gives a shit? Like, Hunter Avallone's changed. His views are crap now. Why do we need? We don't need someone like that. Again, he can. It's a free society. He can continue making this content on his YouTube channel, this centrist content, or this centre left content, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying that YouTube has to ban him or anything, but we don't have to accept him. Like, I don't have to welcome him into anything, and that's just my choice. And you can say, well, you're alienating people. And here's the other thing: he was a content creator with like over 500,000 subs, getting like millions of views a month. He's not some random teenager who got pulled down the pipeline and got pulled out of it by someone else, but their like limit of damage stayed within like a fairly personal circle and stuff. That's a different thing. I'm not saying if someone is reformed in their political beliefs, you should reject them necessarily. I mean, I'd still maintain that you can if you want to. Like, that's on you if you want to. But I feel like it's completely different when this guy is literally only relevant for making his name off being a racist. And, you know, watch my video. If you think I'm being too harsh on him before, watch my video. I was pretty staggered. Like, I didn't think he was, like, basically bordering on alt-right and stuff. I thought he was just conservative. But, you know, with American conservatism, in many ways, there's not much of a difference. No hospital. Okay, thankfully it worked out. Okay, that's good. That's good then, but it still sucks. Destiny supported car, Rittenhouse, yep. That's fucked up. Why am I getting all these fucking weirdos in my chat? The tolerant left feel they need to be tolerant even though that was never part of the deal. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not tolerant to this. Like, if Ben Shapiro, like, genuinely becomes a leftist over the next year, like, he can go fuck himself, basically. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to accept him because he says he's changed, or maybe he has changed, but he's done, like, insane damage throughout his life with his political views and his content creation. No Redux saying they feel empathy for former people who look like them, sound like them, but just had the wrong opinion. Yeah, pretty much. So 255 AD saying, so if he's really changed, why should he have to pay for his past actions forever? I don't believe in free will, so I have a problem justifying that. But the thing is, 255 AD, he's not paying forever. I'm just saying, you know, online spaces, which are like, you know, I can, in my Discord specifically, I pretty much ban everyone who is like a centrist or a right winger or I'm all like, you know, me and the mods are always watching people because I don't want bigoted people in there because I've, you know, obviously with my content, you think a Discord about me is going to be accepting of everyone, right? So I'm not having bigots in there. So that's my personal decision, right? People could maybe get right wingers in my Discord, and maybe the right winger will debate someone and maybe come away and change their opinion. But I'm not interested in that. And again, this is he's not paying for it forever. What's the consequences, right? He's changed his politics, so he's lost out money because he made his money off being a bigot. What's the consequences? What? Because me personally, I won't accept him, or maybe black people won't accept him, or trans people won't accept him. That's not him paying forever. In terms of like, there's nothing really happening to him. It's just people don't have to fucking accept you. If you've been an arsehole in your life, not even with politics, think of how many celebrities are just crazy. And think of how many other celebrities who won't ever accept them because their behaviour's so bad. It's like, okay, for example, think if Hunter Avallone or anyone like that came out as a domestic abuser, right? Really awful domestic abuser. A couple of years later, they come back, be like, I've changed, I've learnt my lesson. Maybe they even went to prison for it. Would you still be having the same arguments that, oh well, you got to accept him, he's changed now. Don't ostracize him, don't punish him forever. I mean, the legal punishment in that case would be like, okay, he's done his time, he should be forgiven. But it's like I was saying with John Hinckley yesterday, with Jodie Foster. Just because he's out now and he's served his time doesn't mean someone like Jodie Foster like has to forgive him for stalking her. Wait, I feel you tried to compare white nationalism to black nationalism, but suddenly stop halfway in saying how they're different. I mean, I've made a whole video literally saying how they're different, and responding to Vosh how they're like not the same at all. So I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Arlo, I saw the video was taken down. Basically, he was saying, the AF was it the was it the AFD stuff was basically proof of the Narspol vortex, even though it's like really nuanced. It's more like former Labour Party voters voting for the Conservatives or Brexit Party or some shit. Honestly, that's fine. I think it's because Vosh accepted Hunter Avallone. Everyone's like, yeah, you don't have to fucking accept anyone. You don't have to accept. Look, you don't have to accept. People don't have to accept me into online spaces or something. Obviously, I haven't done anything like that which would warrant it. But like, people don't have to accept you no matter what. Would I not consider the Tories fascists? I wouldn't yet consider the Tories fascists, although they are like very hard right now. The difference with the Tories, at least optically, is they pretend they like diversity and they're a bit mask on, where the GOP are literally like campaigning on mask off like bigotry, essentially. Oh, sorry. Rachel was saying his prior videos that you showed were yikes as fuck. I had no idea it was like that. Yeah, I didn't necessarily before I watched it. Ben Shapiro kind of leftist would be very weird. Yeah, Isabel, I agree. Isabel says, I'm glad you're better, but I ain't forgiving you that easy. Yeah. The thing is, here's the thing, right? People getting in my comments saying, well, if he deleted all his old videos, his channel would go. If you're really fucking sorry, delete your whole channel. Delete your whole channel, or delete all those videos, or make a new channel or something. What, like, you're meant to be... Like I said, I don't even know if this guy is fucking sorry, or he just thinks he's changed. But, if he was truly repentant, then delete your old videos at the cost to yourself. And then maybe, if you're really sorry, just go get another fucking job. You don't have to be a YouTuber forever. Again, but I don't think these people are sorry. And if you want to be an online personality still, that's the price you got to pay. Like, if you want to keep the videos up and you want to be an online personality, it doesn't mean people have to fucking accept you. Yeah, Rachel, that's what I'm saying. So basically, the argument is that on YouTube, if you delete loads of your old content, you'll be buried in the algorithm. So I don't know how true that is, but let's say it's true. But then, like, that goes to my other point. What, so you're just going to leave them up, like, forever? And be like, well, there you go. And some of those videos will still be getting thousands of views a month, even the old ones. You realise there's marginalised people who were once bigoted too, right? I mean, I don't know why that's really relevant. If there was like who's that like rapper who's really anti-Semitic? If there's anyone pushing insane bigotry for years, and like, if Louis Farrakhan became like a communist, doesn't mean I'd accept him. Do you know what I mean? Let's get him out. Damn, he's old as fuck. Like, if the leader of the Proud Boys became a communist, I would be like, oh, that's cool. Because you're Afro-Cuban, I'll forgive you. Reading some more stuff. Yeah, it's totally different if a trans person has internalized transphobia or a gay person have internalized homophobia. It's way different than Hunter Avallone, a white straight guy, used to making loads of YouTube videos about being a crazy bigot to basically every different group. So much different. Strawberry Prince, are you white though? Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to tell marginalized people if they should accept straight white guys who used to be basically fucking fascists. What am I meant to say to them? Yeah, you have to accept people like this in the online left. You don't have to fucking accept them. We're not talking about electoral politics or anything. Alex saying, I've noticed a male YouTuber will have an easier time being forgiven for being blatantly racist and cheating on their public fellow influencer GFs. Yeah, maybe that's true as well. White people in general have an easy time of being forgiven. Thanks so much, Brockman, for the 99 cents. Is it Canadian dollars? Don't know how much that's. I think it's Canadian. And your little emoji. Yeah, next I'll suggest that Richard Spencer can be redeemed and learned from, yeah. I'm a Vosh viewer and I hate Hunter Avallone. Yeah, Fernando's saying, if someone stabbed me, though, I'd gone to prison and came back to tell me he'd changed and to forgive him. I mean, people change, but I would not like... Yeah, I mean, there's so many examples of stuff, and not even that extreme, that you can say. Like, even if someone was just a crappy person to you, and they come back and say, like... Okay, I'm trying to think... here's something recently, right? This is really strange. Someone who's like a really small YouTuber was a fucking dick to me, like in 2020 on Twitter, and then randomly they became a patron of mine, and they must have forgotten what they said to me, or even if they said anything at all. But I fucking remember, and I still like. I'm just like, yeah, I don't like you very much, and like, you're a patron, so I guess I have to accept you to a certain extent. It's like I'm cautious of you. Like I'm not like necessarily gonna accept you and be your best friend. Yeah, PewDiePie is 100% right wing. Gonna watch the Black Nationalism vid later. Yeah, it's just called like Kavernacle, why Vosh is wrong about black nationalism or something. Splitting Game saying, I'm about to be 38, but as a younger man, me and other people didn't go around saying the stuff these reactionaries say, plus we didn't have YouTube and social media back in the day. Yeah, and that's what I mean, like, and even if you were like more conservative leaning, it's like, there are millions of people like you. There aren't that many like Hunter Avallone who are these like famous people for being, insane reactionaries. Like, why do we get so hung up on them? Like, you don't have to accept them. Hunter still has his old playlist up. Yeah, so he has a lot of his stuff. What do you think of Bo the Fifth Column? I mean, I don't watch him, to be honest, but people like him, so that's good. Yeah, the UK is a weird one, Alex. The thing is, the far right are kind of ostracized from like mainstream media, apart from like Nigel Farage, but he's smart about it. And GB News just hasn't picked up the traction either. But the Tories are so hard right, and the Tories have such a grip on power, like institutionally, like everywhere, not just electoral politics, like the media and most corporations in the UK and everything, just like all in bed with the Tory party. So I think it's just mainly the reins of power in the UK are generally just controlled by one group who are good at just ostracising everyone else. I'm not judging you, Nick. I like God of War 2018 as well. I like God of War 2018. I just don't think it's like the best game of all time. Apparently, IGN thinks. Let's skip some. Oh, Alex, nice. I designed the black hoodie in your pause video. Wait, Alex, are you the person? Because I don't know what the name of the person I'm DMing from Ethic Attire, which is So basically, the sponsorship I've been doing. Alex, do you work for them or are you the person I'm talking to all the time? I'm guessing you're the person I'm talking to. Thanks so much for $20 though. I really, really appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. And thanks to the other person as well. I didn't make it clear. Sorry, I'm just reading some more comments. God of War 2018 may not be the GOAT, but it deserves to be in the top 100. Let's not go too far in the other direction of IGN either. I mean, does it deserve to be in the top 100? When I start thinking about like all the games over the last 20 years, I don't know if it does, to be honest. Here's my main criticism of God of War. We're switching between topics. My main criticism between God of War is that it's trying to be like more linear in a sense, like maybe like a Last of Us style cinematic game, but then it has loads of side stuff, and most of the side stuff isn't good, and it's not as well done as the main stuff. So it feels like more tacked on, basically. Like I think the side, like I'm always talking to these fucking ghosts and stuff. Like the world building, I think, is really poor. In that, although this is like quite a big world to explore, and that's why I'm more hyped about the new one, because you see like this town with people in it. Everyone I speak to is a ghost, and everyone's already dead or something. And even with like humans, there's like maybe like 10 humans that you kill straight at the start. So it feels very lifeless, and I think the game for me personally would have been better if it was just a very linear experience, something like The Last of Us. Whereas like this stuff with like going around, doing all these little quests and picking up these secrets and everything, I just didn't think that was very good. And I think the pacing, for me, I think the pacing was bad. I found the game to be such a slog. I actually stopped playing for 2 months and then picked it up because I was like, I've got to finish this. So I didn't really enjoy it. Like the combat, the thing is, I admit the combat is good in that game because it is good combat, and it's like the enemy. I don't like the enemies. Like the enemies aren't satisfying to fight apart from like the trolls I like fighting, but because everything's like some weird zombie ghost, it just feels like so lifeless. Like I have no connection to the enemies. Like for example, I always say with like Halo, for example. What I think was so good about the Halo games, specifically, is the enemy design and the connection you have to the enemies in terms of like you know who these guys are, you kind of understand the hierarchy within their army and like which different enemy brings different things and how they're different to each other, and it's just fun to fight them as well, and it's satisfying to kill them because obviously the body like is very like feels very good to shoot at and stuff. Whereas in later Halo games they introduced the Prometheans who aren't fun to fight. And you just don't really understand their motivations really that much. They feel like lifeless robots. So I think that's a problem with God of War as well, which I hope they address a bit more. It's like, there's no stakes for me. Like I'm just killing these random zombie things all the time. Zombie things, or like some creatures were cool. Like I liked fighting the werewolves. I liked fighting the trolls. But I hated fighting those witch things. Just generally like those weird mutated tree things and stuff. Again, I didn't feel much connection to it. So I feel like the game was a bit of a slog, to be honest. And also the story, like the story was fine. I enjoyed the acting and stuff, but I didn't really care because also for me personally, when you're dealing with gods, like Norse gods, the stakes are so low for me. Like in something like that, I know in the old God of War he kills all these gods, but it feels like when you're dealing with god stuff, there's no risk of like injury, and the risk of death has to always be really done in like a massive dramatic cutscene because you're killing a god, and this is something that is uncommon for this world. So I feel like generally I didn't think it was the best thing, and I think just it's very predictable, like the relationship with Atreus and Kratos. While it's cool to see a character mature into something like this. The if you can, like, Joel and Ellie is a very good comparison you can make. Joel and Ellie is such a better relationship than Kratos and Atreus, and it's better performed. It's more interesting, in my mind anyway. Especially because it's about humans in a very like gritty, more like realistic scenario. Whereas like these two god characters, and also there's no one really to bounce off their relationship. Like Freya isn't that interesting of a character, and what those two dwarf things. In my mind, it's more interesting if you have like a cast of characters like The Last of Us. While you don't have a necessarily massive group of characters forever, it's like you have Tess to start with, and then you have what's his name, Sam and his little brother, who obviously both die as well, and then you obviously have like Tommy, and then you have like Marlene as well. So you have lots of different characters to bounce this relationship off, really. Whereas in God of War, it's just very focused on these two characters, and I think it limits it a bit because I still don't find Kratos that interesting, because while he's clearly like changing as his father figure, he's still just a very just like gruff dude. And if you compare that to like the growth of Joel in The Last of Us 1 from where he starts to where he ends, I think that's so much better. So I think God of War, if God of War came out and this was God of War 1, I don't think it'd be as hyped as it is, to be honest. It's mainly because you have this legacy of all these other games, and Kratos has been changed into something that's kind of silly, into something that's really, really serious, and like artsy, that I think people have elevated it a lot more than it deserves to be. So that's like my general criticisms of it. Like the gameplay's fun, but I've outlined all my problems with it. So I think it's like one of the most overhyped games. Like when I finished it, I was like, I cannot believe people are giving this 10 out of 10. I would give it like at maximum a solid 8. And the thing is, I called it a 7 out of 10 on Twitter, and people get really mad. I like this game. I would never play it again because it was such a slog. I was thinking about this lately. I was like, should I play it again before the second one comes out? But I'm excited for the second one, and that's the difference. I want to play the next one because I believe the foundation is really interesting. And as a first game, and I thought it was going to be a trilogy, but it's in 2 games, I think it's a good starting point. But, the world feels limited because you're fighting these gods, which, you do know about, but like, it's only Baldur and Thor's sons is the only people you really interact with, and Freya's of course another god, but she's more friendly to you. But then you have lots of other characters from Norse mythology that you could interact with, but you kind of really don't and stuff. So I don't know. That's my main criticism with it. I don't believe it's one of the best games of all time. I wouldn't stick it in my personal top 100 either. Yeah, so generally, I don't understand why people get so mad. Like this game can't have criticisms, and yeah, like I said on Twitter, genuinely, I do prefer Cyberpunk. Like that's not a joke. I think Cyberpunk is a better game than God of War, and I'm not trolling at all. I genuinely think that, because for me, people were saying like the gameplay in Cyberpunk isn't as good. I'm like, well, yeah, no shit, it's not as good. For me, like The Witcher, for something like the Cyberpunk or The Witcher 3, the gameplay is kind of like a bit irrelevant to me, whereas God of War, the gameplay is what you're there for, really. Like the story and the gameplay together, whereas Cyberpunk and The Witcher, you're there for the story and you're there for the world building. And for me, like Cyberpunk's annoying for me. Like I enjoyed the blowback to it, because you can't just release a product like that, like something that doesn't even work on last gen, even though you're selling it on last gen. But that is probably one of my favourite games of the last 5 years. Like the world building is so good, and the characters, like I was super impressed with the story. Like the stuff with the relationships you have are so well done, especially with Pan Am and the Nomads, but even with Johnny Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, and the fact that they have so many different endings and variations on the ending is pretty crazy. So I really enjoyed that game, and I thought like I'm waiting for the PS5 version so I can play it again, and I really want to play it again. And just for me personally, like if I'm there for the story, which I should be with God of War, I'm going to play Cyberpunk all day, because not only does it have a very good central narrative, which in many ways is even more focused than God of War, because I'm not even the side quests in Cyberpunk a lot of the time, just like with The Witcher, they're not meaningless, and they're not just throwaway. Like God of War's side quests are pretty much crap in my opinion, because they're so throwaway. The only good bits are you get a bit of extra dialogue with Atreus and Kratos, but the actual quests don't add anything to the story. Where if you play Cyberpunk, like me, if you complete all the side quests and you get to the end, it just adds so much more to the story and so much more to the world building. In that, like, you understand what's going on in this world so much more. So, you know, people like to meme it a bit because Cyberpunk had such a poor release and generally quite buggy. But if you play Cyberpunk as it's designed to be played, not how it's advertised, it's meant to be a linear open world game, like something like Mafia 2 or something. It's not meant to be GTA 6. If you play it like that, you'll get a good narrative experience. So yeah, although I am, like, the thing is, the difference between trolling is I'm not just saying this stuff just to get a reaction and I don't believe it. I'm baiting because I genuinely do believe this stuff about God of War not being that great. But I just know people will get pissed off by me saying this. So yeah, that is my take on why I don't particularly love God of War, to be honest. And even with the God stuff, like, people get mad. I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla might have done it slightly better. Just a general, like, world building for Asgard and like the 7, is it 7 or the 9 realms? The 9 realms. So there we go. There is my big criticism of God of War. Dad of War. 2 cats on screen is almost too much for non-existent ovaries. Why should you be forced to talk to people you don't want to? Yeah. What I think of reformed ex-cops, I mean, it's the same thing, really. It's like I'm glad you're reformed and everything. And the difference is, like, with an actual job that pulls you into stuff. But the thing is, I'm way more sympathetic to people in the military because I actually understand how that military pipeline, like poverty to military pipeline, works. Where cops are mostly more middle class. So I'm less, to be honest, I don't want to be associated with any cops. Like, I don't want to interact with cops. If one of my friends became a cop, I wouldn't want to talk to them anymore. A friend of a friend, like, there's a potential in the future I might be invited to a cop's wedding. I've been saying to my girlfriend recently with all the shit that's going on in the UK with this cop murdering this woman. I'm like, I ain't going to a wedding for a cop where cops are going to be there and stuff. No way. So yeah, like, reformed cops, good for you, but at the same time, my same argument applies to the Hunt Avallone stuff. People don't have to accept you. The American online left is way too forgiving with former far-righters. Is this one of the instances where the European left can take a W? Yeah, just chase them out of Greece. Vosh said that when people ask him to criticise Shoe on Head, they don't belong in his community. Did he actually say that? They became a patron. Yeah, it was really bizarre. The only thing I could think of is they totally forgot. They even asked me to collab on a video once when I was a lot smaller. They must have just either totally forgot that they said some shitty things to me, or they just think I don't remember, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Dash Boot saying, my high school bully, for example, they treated me like garbage, and when I bumped into them last year, he was nice, but we didn't exchange contact info because I don't want him in my life. Yeah, and it's totally fine. And he could literally be really remorseful, and he could even go up to you and be like, I'm so sorry for what I did. You wouldn't have to accept that. Do you know what I mean? Kavernacle, you're a good channel. Like, I wish white Americans would watch you rather than Bosch. Well, I appreciate you saying that, but also, I assume, because so many Americans watch me, there are a significant amount of white Americans who watch me, so... Yeah, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, you seem to be very anti-imperialist. What are your thoughts on other bread tubers like Vosh or Dylan Burns having somewhat pro-imperialism takes? Yeah, like, generally, I can't stand Dylan Burns a lot, to be honest. Vosh is, like, has a more... The thing with Dylan Burns is, like, why does he say he's a foreign policy expert and it's, like, his thing? Like, didn't he just start doing his undergrad for international relations? So anyway, the thing is, like, I have a master's in international relations, so I consider myself very well versed in it. I wouldn't call myself, like, foreign policy expert. I don't know if I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, it always makes me laugh when people say, the thing is, international relations will make you into one of two things: an anti-imperialist or like some fucking neocon, basically. Because the thing with international relations, a lot of the theories revolve around the lack of morality in nations dealing with each other. So if you take that out in some ways, it's really good at understanding how international relations work, but you can also start applying that to yourself. So it's like, oh, we'll take the morals out. So, I don't know, US, propping up Taiwan is, very good. And the US should be doing that. Or like, but then the US should be doing that. But then if Russia started arming Hawaii or something similar, like, I don't know, American Samoa or like Guam or something, and promising that they'd intervene if America invaded, then for a lot of people, we'd be having a different conversation. And I'm someone who supports like Taiwan, like not being a part of communist China, mainly just because, the Nationalist Party have been kicked out of Parliament, and the people obviously don't want to be part of it. I'm not going to force people who don't want to be part of it to be part of it. But then it's a difference, arming and funding these sorts of things as well. Madaway saying sexual abuse trigger warning. So yeah, don't listen to this if that stuff is triggering for people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was abused as a kid, and I'm really torn if I should forgive my abuser because their family made their issues worse. Yeah, Madway, I can't tell you what to do with that. It's totally up to you. But then, like, in line with what I'm saying, you don't have to forgive anyone. Like, even if that's obviously super severe, and like I don't think anyone would blame you for not forgiving someone for doing that. But at the same time, I can't make that decision for you. What will make you feel better and stuff. But yeah, like it's with anything, like you don't literally you're the judge, and I'm not saying this in your case, but like because obviously what's happened to you is objectively awful, but like you can be the judge of how someone's acted to you. Like there's people in my life who have treated me shittily, and they probably actually don't think they've been shitty to me, but I've taken it that way. So I don't want like there's people. I'm very like zealous with people who I hate, and like there are people who often come out in my social circle who are friends of friends, and I can't fucking stand them, and I'll never accept them. Like I'm never going to be friends with these people, and only because they've done like minor things to me, just been dicks to me, but like nothing that serious. But I'm just not going to forgive them because I don't want to, and I'm just like I don't think you're a nice person. I don't want to associate with you, and like that's totally fine. Would maybe some of my friends be like, I'll just be chill and like accept them, they're nice, they might be like that, but then it's like it's up to me if I want to accept them or not. Yeah, me and Mike from PA actually did a stream together once. AC Odyssey is an amazing game. I've actually been replaying it on the PS5, not loads. I've just been doing the legacy quests they added, so the trial of Socrates and going home with Herodotus before he leaves for his like travels to write his history books. But it looks amazing on PS5. Like I never rated the graphics. I thought it was a big step down from Origins, but really liked it actually. See, look, I'm saying like Chrome Cake in the channel. The thing is that people just get triggered by my opinions. What I think my opinion is totally valid, and other people on thing were saying like it is a slog, and I think it's a slog to be honest. Halo Reach was the last best game in the series. Yeah, the new one looks promising, but I haven't got my hopes up yet. Sorry, I've missed a load of comments. Oh, okay, Stephen is our media guy. We are all on equal shares. Oh, awesome, yeah. Alex, I really like the hoodies, by the way. And I'm not joking. My girlfriend does say they look nice, and she doesn't say that. She doesn't say that for everything I wear. Trust me. But yeah, no. The both of them are really nice. I hope the collab with me was good for you guys. The UK is still far more far right than other developed European nations. Hitman, it depends. It's really complex. I'd say it's more far right than Germany, but it's not more far right than the Netherlands, for example. And I guess we have to stick to Western Europe, because you go outside of Western Europe, talk about Poland or like Slovakia, like Hungary, places like that. They're more far right than the UK. Spitting Game saying, I'm a black man in America. I'm not expecting reactionary. I'm not expecting anything reactionary that changes their views, because, like I said, what would set them where they're relapse? Yeah, that's a good point as well. Cyberpunk and God of War aren't comparable, but I mean they're both video games. I mean, we can compare them. Red Dead 2 should have gotten GOTY. The thing is, I really like Red Dead 2, but look, this is the thing people have to understand. People can't take criticism of God of War for some strange reason. I love Cyberpunk. I love The Witcher. I love, you're saying Red Dead 2. I really like Red Dead 2 as well. I love Death Stranding, right? I can totally take criticism of that, because I know they're not for everyone. Like, you can even see by my tastes. Witcher and Cyberpunk, you can literally play those games often for 6 hours and you're barely doing any combat. Red Dead is another example as well. So is Death Stranding. You can literally, like, if you want to, you don't even have to shoot a gun. So I totally get my tastes are different. Where God of War is a bit like, there's not much downtime, really. So you can kind of see my taste and everything. The first Loki fight, you mean the border fight? Yeah, the border fight in God of War, that was really, I was so hyped after that. But even just like the climbing mechanics and stuff were just like so like basic and generic, and it felt so padded. The climbing, especially like these long climbing sections, it was just like, oh well, this is designed for exposition between the characters, or like, and that's why I didn't like God of War as much, because it felt like with The Last of Us, you have this strict narrative, and then there's little bits you can go to different places, and Ellie will say something extra, right? Where with God of War is like, do a bunch of boring stuff so we can develop the relationship with Atreus and Kratos more. Like, climb something for ages so them two can talk, or like drive your boat around and do these really bare bone side quests so they can talk more. Whereas that's why I think Last of Us is so much better, because it's so much more focused. And even like The Last of Us 2, which is a bit more open in some respects, it's more focused. So like, think about Last of Us 2, think about that Dina and Ellie bit when you're like exploring Seattle on horseback, and it's like you can do loads of extra stuff and you can get like little bits, but it's more interesting. Where the God of War stuff's like, here, go fight some like weird tree thing because this ghost character is doing something. I don't know. I think the world building is kind of poor, to be honest. Yes, Tristan is agreeing with me here. I haven't finished God of War. It's been 2 years. I want to finish it, but it's such a slog, and I'm not engaged with that world like I am with The Last of Us. Echoing my sentiments. I'm not the only one. I'm not crazy here. Alex saying God of War 2018 is the best in the series, but it only feels groundbreaking in comparison to the older ones, which were teenage power fantasies. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying as well. Like, if this wasn't God of War, people wouldn't be praising it like it's the best thing ever. Isabel saying, something I really like is having a narrative set villain group where you not only understand the main antagonists but their minions too. Yeah, I like that as well. Obviously, something like The Last of Us 2 is way more complex in that, like, who the villain is kind of shifts depending on who you play, but like, it's an interesting take on that. Halo's quite interesting in that respect. Halo 2 is very interesting game for like, you play as the Covenant, and then like you understand like the different factions. Like, you have Tartarus the Brute and the Brutes, and then you have the Prophets who are the leaders, and then you have the Elites, and you have like yourself as like the suicidal soldier, the Arbiter, and then you have this other commander and the Elites and stuff. Like, I think that's what I'm saying with Halo. It does such a good job at like creating this universe where you actually care about who you're fighting with and who you're fighting against and everything. Oh, that's crazy. Someone who survived the 1918 pandemic died of COVID. Wow. Mad, like, to live through both of them. Yeah, 8 out of 10 is a good score. That's the highest I'd go, to be honest. So Alex saying Chrono Trigger deserves the #1 spot. For me, what would be my... Like, I'd say, if I have like a really normie opinion on what's the best game of all time, I'd say The Witcher 3. But then like there's loads of little ones like mechanically, like Mario Kart. Like I know this sounds weird, but like for me, like something like Mario Kart 8 is like a perfect video game in terms of like at what it's trying to do. It's just like the perfect like version of kart racing. Like I like Crash Team Racing a lot, but that game is quite. It's really, you can manipulate yourself in a way that kind of just breaks the game. I feel like where like Mario Kart does really well in the set of rules it has, whereas there's other games as well like Arkham City. I literally think is like a perfect game, and I also think Arkham City is comparable to God of War. And that might sound weird because they take this approach of like, I don't know if Metroidvania is applicable to this like 3D worlds, but it's kind of like you have this open world, lots of side things to do that you don't have to do, but if you do it, it elevates the world. But I think Arkham City does all that stuff a lot better than something like God of War. Like for me, Arkham City is just like this perfect video game. Might not be like my favorite ever, but I feel like when you're playing that, it's just so well constructed, like the narrative and like the side stuff and the combat, and together it is so good. Like I literally think it is one of the most well made video games ever. And I think God of War just does a lot of things that games have done before a lot worse. And I feel like God of War should have been linear, like The Last of Us. I don't think it should have been like semi-open world. Lockman, watch my Hunter video and watch the first 15 minutes. You might be quite shocked at how bad he was. Yeah, Insomniac's Spider-Man games. Yeah, like Spider-Man is another one. Like I could just recommend that to anyone. Like it's such a solid game. And the thing is with Spider-Man is that despite being this character which is so overdone and everything, obviously in media, I think it's such a good Spider-Man story. Like I literally think that's the best version of Spider-Man. So that's kind of in line with my Arkham City comparison. Yeah, the story for Cyberpunk was top notch, especially the voice acting. The voice acting is so good, and also most of the people who do it are like they're not really that well known either, which is quite amazing. I like the Johnny, apart from obviously Keanu Reeves is like world famous actor, but like he's pretty much the only one really. I like the whole Johnny Silverhand story. Yeah, like just all the characters and like the bar and just like all the different like relationships. It's just like, and what I love about it is like you do one quest and then you're on your phone and you're doing another one, and it's also like, for being quite a dark story, it's quite wholesome in that you make like quite a lot of friendships, and you're just like, oh, I would die for this character. I'll die for like is it River, who's a detective, or like Panam or Judy, or Jackie or Jackie's or Misty and stuff. Like it's such like a cast of characters that you get invested in really, really easily, and you find something to like out of all of them. Even like Kerry, it's just like these characters. If you describe them to me, it's like, would you like these characters? I'll probably say no, but when you actually spend a lot of time with them, they're so good. And I think like whoever the head writers are at CD Projekt Red are just like some of the best in the video games. Like this, I'd say Naughty Dog and CD Projekt Red are just like, the writing is just so good, because the world how it creates world building is just really amazing in my opinion. Where I don't think God of War the thing is, God of War is like really solid. I don't think people take it the wrong way. Like it's really solid. I just have a lot of criticisms of it, because if you're going to transition from a hack and slash game to something that's trying to be like very artsy, I just don't think it stands up to the games that have already done that. Really, like I don't think God of War compares at all to like The Last of Us 2, for example, despite in some ways going for a similar vibe in that it's a very character driven story about like a small or like a relationship. But I even think like as a whole package, I don't think it compares to The Last of Us 2, but even like compared to The Last of Us 1 as like this story, I just don't think it's that effective as this journey with this father and son and everything. And even with Kratos as a father figure, I don't think I like him that much as a father figure, because I think my problem with him is that like he's not necessarily like a bad father. He's just a very cold father, and obviously as our relationship grows a bit more, he becomes more like warm and stuff. Where like that's like a fine narrative arc and everything. I'm not saying you can't like that, but like someone like Joel, he's clearly like a very loving father with his first daughter, and then he's obviously very cold individual in some senses, but then like they obviously develop this like mutual respect, and then like a father daughter relationship, and then his arc is like, to me that's a bit more interesting, where it's like it's a bit of a circle, but then it takes a very dark turn because of what he does at the end of Last of Us 1, which you can interpret as like a very selfish thing, where you get the impression with Kratos is that, in my mind at least, he would die for his son at the start of the game, and he would die for his son at the end of the game. Like, his love or even just loyalty to like his family, I don't think is very in question, but it's just that like his actual developing like a good relationship with his child is like what the point of the game is. And again, that's fine, but I just don't find it anything like groundbreaking or amazing. Like, this story has been done so many times, where Last of Us is doing this story, but the twist on it I really really like, in that just the whole, from the beginning to the end of that, I just think it's a way, and that's what I'm saying. The Last of Us story for me is a very similar type of relationship thing, where these people grow together. I think it's just done in such a better way, even though it came out like 5 years before. Chromecake, what is this guy saying? You can just fuck off. um so I'm reading some more stuff. Yeah, Fernando, I agree. It gives me a bit of concern on how the left online has organised into a cult of personality of a few people. When Vosh gets criticism, he usually spreads really bad takes. Yeah, well, he doubled down on the criticism he recently got about the German elections, didn't he? Odyssey and Valhalla are very different. Valhalla feels more like Origins, but I like both of them a lot. My sister's husband is a cop. He's a Republican, of course. Of course. Yeah, the Odyssey story was okay, but like nothing special. The Valhalla one's a bit better, but I think the Origins one was better than both, to be honest. Yeah, Tristan, I'd try one of the newer ones, but just pick the time period that interests you the most. That's what you get the most out of. As a leftist with cops in my family, it's the absolute worst being around them. They always want to debate politics and get really aggressive. Yeah, fuck that for sure. Like, I could not stand talking politics with cops. Doom okay sometimes. Good thing this isn't a gaming channel. Notice as soon as games get talked about, everyone gets mad. The thing is, I don't understand what is people's personal attachment to, like, I can understand. It's just criticism. We all have different takes and stuff. People get mad when I criticize the MCU for some reason as well. Like, come on, stop being so loyal to brands. I love the stuff I love. If you tell me that's my favorite movie, if you tell me that's a shit movie and you can actually outline a case why it's bad, I'm not gonna get mad at you, right? I get mad about like reactionary takes, like, oh, this thing is shit because it is. Like, people saying Cyberpunk is shit without explaining why. It's shit because of performance issues. Like, it runs. You can play that game and it runs fine. If you're saying it's a bad game because of that, now on the PS5, I played it and it was fine. I mean, but if you outline to me why you don't like it, I got no problem with that. It's not going to trigger me at all. He obviously just reads a bunch of news articles and regurgitates whatever the mainstream foreign policy consensus is. Okay, he worked as a foreign policy advisor for someone running for Congress or something. All right, it was in his bio or something. I saw it the other day. Yeah, Isabel, the Isu story is more interesting in Valhalla, but it is a bit confusing. The new Breath of the Wild, yeah, I'm hyped. I like Breath of the Wild a lot. Hot take. Here's another hot take for everyone. Immortals Phoenix Rising, the Breath of the Wild inspired game using the Assassin's Creed Odyssey engine, could actually teach the new Breath of the Wild a lot of things about making the game better. I'm not at the point where I'm going to say that Immortals Phoenix Rising is better than Breath of the Wild, but I have to complete it first and stuff. Little Fox, do you know much about Taiwan history? I mean, what do you want to know about it specifically? I know about it in terms of the last 100 and a bit years. Basically, Taiwan was taken by the Japanese in the first Sino-Japanese War. So it was essentially a Japanese colony, but then it was given back to China after World War II. And then, of course, when the communists won the Civil War, Chiang Kai-shek fled to Taiwan, and it set itself up as the Republic of China, which was recognized in the UN as the only Chinese nation until like 1971 or something. Ever talking about that sort of stuff. Sorry, I've missed some stuff. Thanks for saying that. A lot of people don't know the Netherlands is extremely right wing. Yeah, 100%. Gert Wilders. When I meet Dutch people, I always ask what they think of him. So I'm reading some more stuff. Mike from PA's Politics are good. He's just really insecure and bad at dealing with drama. That's what it seems like. But yeah, I went on a stream once. What do you think of the new Zelda? Yeah, I think I just said liked it a lot. I wouldn't play God of War if it's the last game on Earth. Kavernacle, have you played Mafia 3? What do you think? Yeah, spitting game. I love Mafia 3. So, like, you know, people are going to say I'm an idiot because I like Mafia 3 because it's quite repetitive. No, Mafia 3's soundtrack is literally like god tier soundtrack. Like, there isn't a better soundtrack in video games than Mafia 3. They must have spent so much fucking money on the licensing. Like, you got Elvis Presley, Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, so much like Motown as well. Like it's absolutely crazy, that soundtrack. And I like the thing is the story is good as like this revenge plot. The politics, I guess the themes of Mafia 3 are really interesting in that you've literally, like, I've never had this in a game. You will go into a segregated like bar, and the owner will come and literally push you out. Like that is really interesting. And then like the stuff you hear on the radio, like lots of racism and everything, and just like being racially discriminated. Like your character literally gets called the N-word and stuff. And it's just very like I respect it so much in that, like, I don't think there's a game that has dealt with racism as explicitly as Mafia 3 has. At least not that I've played. Like literally, and you obviously like fight the KKK and like old like school Confederate types and stuff. But yeah, really interesting game. I mean, a bit repetitive. The DLC solved a lot of my issues actually. If the game was more like the DLCs, I think it would have been a lot better. But no, I really enjoyed that game. Like I like the driving. The shooting was really good. The shooting physics were great. Like when you shot someone, they're just like rolling around the floor, like holding their like chest and like making noises. I really enjoyed that. The weapons were fun as well. If I had some criticisms, let me carry more weapons. Why am I limited to 2? And let me unlock the M16 earlier. GFC of approval is appreciated. Halo Infinite isn't going to act like Halo 5 didn't happen. It isn't, but it actually kind of is in that, like, the Banished from Halo Wars 2 are now the villains instead of what's it, Cortana. Yeah, GTA 5 I like a lot in terms of the online, but GTA 4 was so much better in terms of story. Like I'll take GTA 4 over GTA 5 any day. Yeah, Alex G. I don't know what Kojima games you've played. if you're talking about Metal Gear Solid 4, I can understand. If you were talking about MGS3 or Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker or even Death Stranding to some extent, I maybe wouldn't understand a bit. Peace Walker is really to the point about his politics, like fight with the Sandinistas while they simp for Shay again, and you're fighting the CIA. Yeah, Dutch hate migrants. That's like most Europeans, isn't it? Yeah, Death Stranding's politics are quite obvious. I'm replaying it with my eyes more open, so I'm picking up on a lot of things. Dargo, the only Souls game I've sunk a lot of time into is Dark Souls 2, and I really liked it. And it's meant to be one of the easier ones, but I just got to a point where I just couldn't finish it. It's too hard, and I'm a bit of a noob with Soulsborne. You know, I'm good at stuff like Rocket League and Mario Kart and Pro Evolution and Tetris. I suck at stuff like Dark Souls though. Yeah, Last of Us 2 is the best game I ever played. Yeah, it's up there for me. Like the thing is, I like the Last of Us 1 a lot. It was never in my top 10, but then like the Last of Us 2 was just like straight into like my top 5. Like it's so good, just the whole story. You know, Abby is such a great character. Like probably one of my favorites. Um, my favorite games of all time: Donkey Kong Country 2, Pac-Man World 2, and Assassin's Creed Origins. That's a solid but interesting list. Assassin's Creed Origins I absolutely love. Like that must have one of the best open world in video games. Not in terms of like mechanically, but just like it's so beautiful and just so diverse. Even for a very hot country like Egypt, like just playing the Discovery Tour mode, which I'm hyped for Valhalla. Like this history mode on it is so good. Like and also the DLC for Origins is really good as well. Going to Sinai and going to Thebes. Like Thebes is just like playing that game. I hope it gets a PS5 upgrade because playing that game just the is just such a like a. If you love Egyptian history, I didn't even love Egyptian history. I didn't like any of that history, and it made me a fan of it just because it's so good looking. Pac-Man World 2, I'm not familiar with, but Donkey Kong Country just generally has an amazing soundtrack as well. Sleeping Dogs, yeah, that's a solid one. Sleeping Dogs is great. I'm so mad they never made a second one. Is Death Stranding in your top 10? Oh, that's an interesting one. It's becoming a video game stream. Death Stranding, I'm playing it again and I really like it, and it left a very big impression on me the first time I completed it, like over a year and a half ago. But when I'll play it again and I'll decide maybe. Like it's in top 20, I'd say. Like artistically as a whole, I think it's such a good game. Like all the pieces together, and just what's so good about it is the progression. And the thing is, I love something like Metal Gear Solid 5, but it just left me with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth just because all the cut content and kind of the ending I didn't really like either. Yeah, Spider-Man is really good. Do you like Final Fantasy? I tried to play 15, and is that the one that came out like a couple years ago? And I just couldn't get into it, to be honest. Control I've got on PS Plus, so I want to play that at some point. Yeah, Jackie was a waste. They could have kept them around for a bit longer, but I do think he did provide a bit of an incentive to, you know, because it did hurt a tiny bit because he was such a good character. Don't shill for CDPR, please. Yeah, Nick, if you type in Kavernacle Cyberpunk, I've just made this time last year, like December last year, just made a bunch of videos like slating them for like awful abuses of employees, like transphobia and stuff. So like, I'm not a simp for the company, but whoever writes for them is really good. Yeah, Tristan saying, I really like the wide open section in The Last of Us 2 because it felt like you were rewarded for exploring all of downtown Seattle with things like Eddie singing Take On Me, which you can completely miss. I missed it in the first playthrough, like completely missed it. But yeah, you're right. That is like a really good section. Yeah, the thing is, I never watched the trailers for games I'm going to play, like Cyberpunk, so I wasn't misled. But like in my video, which I made on it, I said, you know, it's basically you've scammed people because the game first of all isn't like GTA and stuff, but it's also like doesn't even work on PS4. Deathloop. Yeah, I'm not too interested in Deathloop, to be honest. Like, I played Dishonored 1 a bit. How much theory have you read? Yeah, I always say to people, like, the extent of my theory comes from, like, university. So, political theory mainly for my international relations masters, but, like, I did read some political theory in my history degree. I honestly don't care for it too much. Like, I've read it and I understand it, but, like, people who make theory everything, I think it's kind of stupid. And people got to understand, I literally like was studying this stuff and I found it fucking boring. Like a lot of it. The only one that was really interesting to me was Lenin, and one that I agreed with a lot more than others. But yeah, Lenin, Gramsci, Karl Marx, a couple others, I guess. But yeah, it's not the be all and end all like a lot of people make out. Alexander, as a former game dev, I can tell you that liking a game is different than shilling. The devs mostly didn't likely want to release it in the game in a tragic way. They don't set out to make dumpster fires. Yeah, that's true as well. Obviously, like Cyberpunk, it's like a management decision, pretty much, isn't it? Deathloop, yeah, it's only for PS5 and consoles. The end of Last of Us 2 reminds me of fucking Point Break. Anyone who's watched Point Break and finished The Last of Us 2, that beach scene, let me know. Do you guys think it's literally, it's even like the same weather? It feels very inspired by Point Break. Yeah, AC is going to go free to play apparently, which it sucks to be honest. Yeah, Assassin's Creed Infinity. I hope it's not real. I'd be pretty devastated if it was real. I don't want it. Yeah, it does run fine on the PS5. Dargo's saying. Alright, I want to go fill up my water bottle quick. So I'm gonna just go do that in a sec. I want to leave you guys with something. I'm gonna read these more comments though. All right, so here's something I'm gonna leave you with. I'm gonna go for 1 minute to fill up my water bottle. Is God of War 2018 in the top 50 games of all time? So you can just put Y or N, or you can explain yourself. All right, I'm gonna go. All right, I'm back. I'm gonna take your comments quick for the new thing. No. No, 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 no. Oh, hey, Katie. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Hope your week's been alright. List your top 49. I mean, I can't go through your top 49. Haven't thought about it. Favorite Assassin's Creed protagonist? Probably Bayek from Origins. I like Eivor, the male one, as well. And Edward Kenway is cool. No video game can top MLK in Fortnite. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Thebes in Origins was fun. Yeah, it was sick. Director's Cut. Yeah, I'm playing Death Stranding Director's Cut at the moment. What's your top 3 Assassin's Creed games? I'd probably just say the new ones, to be honest. I know that's a bit of a weird opinion. I'd say Origins, Valhalla, Odyssey, probably. If we're going a bit larger, I'd say maybe Assassin's Creed 3 as well. Yeah, GTA 4 is like actually serious. I'd like them to go back. Mafia 1 Remake was good. Mafia 3 was my favourite of the trilogy. But yeah, I probably preferred 2 when it came out, but like I like them all. The story of Mafia 3 is awesome. Yeah, I did really like it. Just the theme. But yeah, the soundtrack is really good. And you get to fight KKK members. Yeah, I just chuck like loads of grenades at them when you go to their clan rally. Have I played any Metro games? I've only played Last Light, but I really, really liked it. I started the newest one, but I never finished it. I barely even played it, to be honest. Alright, so some more comments. Top 150 maybe. Point Break is great, so it's fine. Yeah, at the end of the Point Break, I'm still nice to know I'm not the only Brit awake of his ungodly hours right now. I'm up at this time every day, pretty much. Cav has read more theory than Vosh. I mean, to be honest, that wouldn't really surprise me. I mean, only because I had to. But the thing is, Vosh did sociology, didn't he? Not politics. I did politics, so it's different, and history. Nope, it's been a shit show. Oh no, is it literally been a shit show? What's been bad about it? Yeah, another Bayek fan. Tetris 99 would be in the top 20 for like real. 12 minutes. Never played that. It looked alright, but apparently the ending's really bad or something. Thoughts on Stalin? I mean, yeah. I mean, what can you really say? The only good thing Stalin did was win World War II. But you had to be Stalin's lawyer. Tetris Effect is good. I liked it in VR a lot. That's what got me into Tetris, actually. Now 99 is what I primarily play. Like, it's one of my most played Switch games. Both. Is your just boss being awful, Katie? Yeah, Stalin is like... it's one of those ones that is like over-exaggerated, but he's still really bad. Like, he was like anti-Semitic and like persecuted Jewish people because of Israel. Read about the Slansky trial in Czechoslovakia and how he influenced that and like, you know, riled up the anti-Semitism with that stuff. Obviously, his purges, not just against like Communist Party members who were more involved in the Bolshevik Revolution than he was, but just generally. But yeah, even most people, like, to be honest, I'm not hysterical about the USSR. Like, comparatively in the 60s and 70s in the world, it is a decent enough place to live. You know, it's not like a totalitarian state. Like, maybe under Stalin it was far more, but like in the 70s and 80s and going forward, it wasn't. And of course, like, goes without saying, the USSR, even in its dying days, was far better than Russia was in the Russian Federation. In the 90s, like better standard of living, better employment. Even this is when the USSR was collapsing. So yeah, it's like Stalin, yeah, bad guy. And the thing is with Stalin, unlike Mao, there's nothing redeeming about Stalin. At least Mao was like this great guerrilla leader, like literally an insane guerrilla. Like, I literally don't even understand people like Mao and Ho Chi Minh. I don't even understand how you can literally like lead guerrilla armies for like fucking 20 years or something. It's so insane. Like, the Chinese Civil War is just so drawn out. I can't believe the communists were fighting for that long. Same with the Viet Minh. Obviously, like, Ho Chi Minh and the you know, his army fighting fighting the Vichy French and Japanese, then fighting like all the Westerners, obviously with the French mostly, and then fighting like the Americans and the South Vietnamese. That's fucking mad. I mean, I never said I'm a Leninist. I don't have a label for myself. I just call myself leftist anti-capitalist. I don't honestly know what theory I'd subscribe to most, to be honest. But I wouldn't call myself a Leninist. Probably not even a Marxist-Leninist either. Yeah, the government shutdowns are so weird in America, right? So when there's a government shutdown, does it just end a lot of government services as well, like welfare and like Medicaid and shit? Is it like everything? Doomer socialist, yeah, that describes me. Thoughts on religion? Yeah, I'm a big atheist. I could criticize religion all day, and I did used to do way more atheist videos. But at the same time, I realized when I got older that capitalism is the problem for a lot of religious fundamentalism, in the sense that, like, specifically we're talking about Islam as well. It's like, who is one of the prime purveyors of like radical Islam? It's like Saudi Arabia. Okay, what are we doing to stop that? Selling them loads of weapons and propping them up. And then you think about like how religious fundamentalism thrives. It's, you know, in poorer countries it thrives because of a lack of education, authoritarian governments, lack of access to the internet. In countries like America, for example, rich people help it thrive and spread it. But that's like a similar thing in Saudi Arabia as well. So in my mind, a lot of the problems we have with religion are more of capitalism. But then, you know, I think religion is ridiculous. It's just so fake on so many levels. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. And the thing is, I've studied, even at university, I've studied religious history a lot. I love religious history. I find it so interesting. But the thing is, if you study religious history, you just find out it's just completely ridiculous. Whether that's like, you know, the Quran is meant to be the literal word of God, but in digs they found numerous different Qurans. So there's a Quran which has like more of like a biblical Jewish influence on it, like with the religious figures from Christianity and Judaism, and there's other Qurans that don't have that stuff. So you're meant to believe the Quran is the literal word of God, but there's different versions of it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's literally meant to be written by God through Muhammad or something, some believe, and there's different versions of it. Like they found them in Yemen and stuff. And obviously, it goes without saying, is that you know, Prophet Muhammad is a very interesting historical figure, like this like conquering warlord. But like, it makes my, you know, as an atheist, makes sense in my mind that he co-opted Abrahamic religion and just added himself to it. Like it's and he also interacted with a lot of Jewish people when he was younger as well. So it's not like he wasn't aware of Judaism. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, someone who adapted it. But then it's same with Christianity as well. Like, if you read about the history of Jewish infighting and different groups, I forgot what the group's called. Let me look this up quick, because Jesus was in one of these Jewish groups which were all fighting each other. Let me get it up. Was Jesus a... Okay, so Jesus was a Pharisee, right? Which is a social movement and school of thought in the Levant during the time of the Second Temple, right? But Pharisees were fighting other people. So when Rome were attacking Jerusalem, and they burnt down the temple, the different Jewish groups were all fighting against each other, because there's a Hellenized Jewish historian called Josephus, who became like the biographer of Tacitus. This I think he was the Roman emperor's son, and he became the Roman emperor. And he wrote about all this infighting, which happens to be one of the groups is what Jesus was part of. And then to me, it could make sense that Jesus is actually just a factional split, and just one guy's like, you know, I'm the son of God and everything like that. So when you read about the history in that sense, it's pretty like funny. But then you read about the history of Christianity. that you're meant to believe that the Pope talks of God. But at different times, there was like 3 different popes, which were all just the stooges of various European powers, all fighting for control. It's just ridiculous, even like in a historical level, like all this stuff. That's without even getting into like the obviously arguments are like philosophical arguments or like scientific arguments. I'm not talking about the history here, but like the scientific arguments is like God is meant to be like omnipotent, you know. He knows everything. He knows everything. He's like beyond time. But for example, we talk about religion today. So God had a very set version of values like 4,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago, when he first spoke to what would become the Jewish people. But now we interpret religion in a different way, where it's more liberal, right? But God does exist beyond time. Like 4,000 years is nothing to him. So why has he suddenly changed? Like 1,000 years ago, you could go on a crusade for the Pope and you get a little note from him saying you'll go to purgatory for your sins instead of hell. So that's 1,000 years ago. And now that would be completely unthinkable. But has God changed? What, God is like ageless, created the whole universe, and suddenly he's changed his ethics from in the last 1,000 years, even the last 40 years or the last 50 years. Stuff like that is stupid. And then just like, you know, just other arguments like, do animals go to heaven? Like, do gorillas go to heaven? Chimpanzees, they have personalities and they have working minds and stuff, and they have a perception of themselves. Like, gorillas and chimps are aware of themselves. Are they in heaven as well? Like, and then it's just like everything. Like, we treat Norse mythology, like we call it mythology. How is that any less valid than Christianity or Judaism or like Egyptian gods or Greek gods? How is that any less valid? Why is that ridiculous? Polytheism is apparently ridiculous. And then it's just clear to see, it's just our whole image in the West, we've been taken over by a monotheistic religion. You know, I've been watching a lot of Vikings and playing AC Valhalla, and what depresses me as an Irish person is that there is barely anything known about Irish paganism, because obviously Ireland was Christianized by people like St. Patrick, obviously. But the problem is, because these societies didn't write much down, we don't know anything about them. And I'd prefer a world of more polytheistic religions, because at least those religions are tied to the history of a place. So like Greek religion is obviously tied to like actual events in Greek history, like is it the Mycedons or something? Is the stuff with Troy, which might not have happened and stuff. But then you have, you know, things with like Odin and everything like could have been based on actual real people and these people's histories, and the same with Irish paganism, which, you know, people know nothing about. So it's just clear to me, you know, religion just isn't true, and it's just explanations for things humans couldn't understand, which we now understand. And it's just, you know, you die and, you know, the electricity in your brain runs out and that's it. Like there's no afterlife or heaven or anything like that. And it's just there's so many different ways. It's like our notions of these things are so like dated and everything. So yeah, I really don't believe in religion at all. But what I've mellowed on a lot is my view on religion being one of the key problems in the world, and now it's changed to capitalism basically. So that's how I've changed a lot more, and realized a lot of the problems I have with religion, which I still do have, are fundamentally created by capitalism and this global capitalist system. And obviously, like, you know, just mellowed a lot on, you know, I've spoken about this before, like my views on Islam specifically, like realizing that new atheism, or just general like mainstream Western atheism is quite bigoted towards Islam and like racializes Islam and stuff. But yeah, like generally not a very religious person, like ex-Catholic family. But to be honest, like I remember I used to say to my parents when I was small, I was like, church is so boring, like is it ever gonna get good? And they're like, you'll like it when you get older. And I just like, when I was 15, I was like, I ain't going back. I used to be an altar server, like I was proper like in the church, but I wasn't ever really religious. And then you know, if you talk about things like sex before marriage and all that crap, and like vices and crap like that, like I've been bad for that, so I'm going straight to hell. Also, like, you know, been a massive atheist for like 8-9 years now. But the one thing I will say, my one problem with religion, and I think this displays itself in America, I think it opens yourself up to rejecting reality in a lot of ways, like conspiracy theories, doubting medical science in favor of religion. And this is not exclusive problems for like American Christianity, but I think it's very visible in the politicization of American Christianity. To just like, there is this element of you are rejecting reality in favor of fantasy. And I think in a lot of ways, especially if you're uneducated. So like, I believe, of course, you could be an extremely educated religious person, but a lot of religious people often aren't educated, meaning the critical thinking skills they might just naturally have are also dulled by just the belief in stuff that is pretty much nonsense. And the thing is, most religious people haven't read the Bible because the Bible was batshit crazy. Like, we had to read the apocalypses. I swear, whoever wrote that was just so high when they did it, because it is the most batshit insane stuff I have ever read in my life. Like, literally, like lions with like 8 heads and like different parts of animal bodies coming for the end times and shit like that. It's genuinely crazy stuff. And even like with the Bible itself, you have like lost gospels, you have splits in churches, you know, Orthodox versus Catholicism versus Protestantism, and you know, even within religions itself, that they're so divided over what the true thing is. Are you ever going to make a video about Mr. Robot? I mean, I'd love to, but probably won't. Sorry, I'm just reading his comments. Based Mohammed, based Jesus. I mean, Jesus was pretty based. I mean, I don't believe the biblical version of Jesus even existed, but I mean, I probably would reject Islam was revolutionary, in my opinion. I just believe it was a guy manipulating people, to be honest. Yeah, Aaron's saying, some people in my family believe dinosaurs are fake because of their religion. Yeah, that's what I was saying about, you know, your critical thinking skills. Yeah, Aaron, it's just like with anything, even like capitalism, Western chauvinism, you're just indoctrinated it from a very young age. So I'm just reading some more stuff. Okay. Singularity, is that 10,000% agree with perspective on religion. It's the way I see it too. Yeah, it's just something like I used to be when I was younger, and I guess like this is the problem of being young. I used to think, I guess I wasn't more concerned about material stuff in the world because I hadn't had the experience of like the workplace and like job hunting and shit, and just like waking up to like how capitalism has its roots in so many problems and everything. What do you think of the Outer Wilds? I haven't played that, although I did want to, but apparently it runs like shit on the Switch. To be honest, I'm although I sound pretty tolerant, which I am tolerant of people as individuals having religion, I do think religion as a whole is bad. And although I do see capitalism as something that props up the more fundamentalist versions of it, at the same time, it does keep humanity in the past in a lot of ways. And I'm not just exclusively talking about Islam, which people often think people would be. You know, Christianity in places like Uganda, the United States, Christian fascism in places like Latin America. Like, I just think it often becomes very intertwined with nationalism. There's not enough evidence for the existence of Jesus. Yeah, if you actually read about the existence of Jesus, it's quite wild that like the first thing written about him was like 30 years after his death, if we take the Bible as something that's true, and then like 98 years after he died, if we're talking about like actual historians. Atheism, Norse mythology, Christianity. I mean, yeah, I prefer pagan religions, at least because they have some historical significance to those cultures, where Christianity is pretty much about the history of Jewish people, which is like, like I'm saying, Judaism is interesting to me in terms of its historical significance for like Jewish people, because it's like so intertwined with these real historical figures that are relevant to that culture. Where it's like Christianity, it's like, I grew up Catholic in the UK. Like, most people in my school were like from migrant communities, and it's like, why do we give a shit about this? Like, it's got nothing to do with us. Like this Middle Eastern religion, which has obviously been heavily Europeanized by the Roman Empire and like Holy Roman Empire and other empires and stuff. Yeah, but spitting game, why would God change his mind? That's what I don't understand. Why would God change his mind? He exists beyond time. He created the whole fucking universe. He doesn't exist in our time zone. He doesn't mature or change. He knows what's going to happen before it happens. So why would he suddenly change? Like between the old, like when he sends his son, he's like, I've changed now. Like, but he would have known. But it gets weirder because obviously, like, think about how much Christianity has changed in the last 100 years as well. It's not just like, if we're talking about from Old Testament to New Testament, like the bridge between, I don't know, old style Jews and Christians and stuff. Some atheists are more annoying than religious people. Yeah, how many videos? Like, if you guys doubt that I hate new atheists, type in Kavernacle new atheism. I've made so many videos on this stuff. I fucking hate new atheists. Mycenaeans, there we go. Mycenaeans. Not having religion is for hippies. I don't really know. I'm not a hippie. If you ain't agnostic, you're being snobby. What does that mean? Agnostic means you're not sure. I'm sure. There's a religion is bullshit, to be honest. It's easy to shit on Islam and make careers off that, sadly. Yeah, it seems it is. Turn myself up a bit. Right, we're the exact same. Aaron, thanks so much for the donation. Super appreciated. Way too nice of you. Religion is quite toxic in a lot of ways. Yeah, those relatives of mine believe that about dinosaurs because they think dinosaurs were fabricated to make people believe in evolution. So goddamn silly. That's so crazy. Also, favourite dinosaur. Oh, favourite dinosaur. I don't really know the names of them. I like the ones with the big necks, like the really massive ones. Velociraptors are cool, and T-Rexes. But yeah, thanks so much for the donation. Really appreciate it. And it's crazy because you can just dig up dinosaur bones like so many times. Katie, thanks so much for the $10. Katie, you shouldn't have been in Wawa because that's an annoying word to say. But getting exposed to the virus because a co-worker got sick. Oh damn! And had to work since our boss quit. Wait, your boss quit? Do you mean like the owner or like your manager? My sister putting down her emotional support animal wasn't enough. Oh, that sucks. It sounds like you're not having a good day, Katie. I should be giving you the $10. But I appreciate it though. But I hope you feel better. That does really suck. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Are you just waiting for the weekend, or is the weekend going to be crap as well? Manticores. I only know manticores from The Witcher. They're the same thing. You say that like 8-headed lions aren't cool. I mean, it does sound cool. It also sounds insane. Any religious person can doubt the existence of God. Nobody can know the truth. I mean, you can just make that statement about everything. Like, I can just say like I'm seeing a ghost there, like, or like there right now, and then say, well, you can't disprove it, so you're not sure and stuff. I don't know. I don't really like that argument. It reads like a major drug trip. Yeah, Alex, that is quite funny actually. Would I be interested? Would I be consider making a video on all the trolling little what Nas X is doing, riling up the evangelical right? I fucking the thing is, I don't even like his music that much. It is quite good, but like he makes me fucking laugh so much. Like I just love his shit posting, and just like obviously like a lot of it is very explicit, but you know he's doing it just to piss people off. I'll write it down in my notes because I got a list of video ideas, but that is not a bad one to be honest. But yeah, I fucking love him. uh, Vor Tukas, I appreciate you. Liberation theology. I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's not going to change my mind. I'm not even saying you can't be a religious, like socialist or something. I'm just saying I'm just never going to believe in that. I totally reject religion. Yeah, I'm not sure if he was written about in his life, but Muhammad was like a real historical figure, whereas Jesus a bit more dubious, to be honest. Manager. Oh, okay. Why did they quit? Just because you've been treated like shit. I nearly thought that man who catcalled me just now. Yeah, that's catcalling in a shop is so weird because you can't even escape. So they just did it to you while you're standing there, and they're in the shop as well. Um, I mean, what's that? Yeah, okay, well, I've just read the proper definition of it. I mean, why do I have to read it again? I mean, good for Christians who believe in, who want to use their religion to be more like socialist, like Archbishop Romero or something from El Salvador, who's killed by the government there. But yeah, you can be religious and a communist and religious and a socialist. I don't give a shit. I just think religion is, as a whole, something I don't think humanity really needs, to be honest. I understand how religious institutions can play a role. Even fucking the Muslim Brotherhood have adopted or did adopt some of the aesthetics of socialism, even though they're heavily conservative religious. But their origins, they used to work with trade unions in Egypt. They do massive soup kitchens for poor people. They help poor people, but they're still conservative. And also, to be honest, progressive religious people are definitely in the minority globally. You get it a lot more in like Western countries for sure, and like you're saying, some Latin American countries as well. Yeah, most of the people in the world believe in something. Yeah, but I don't understand why I need to read this, to be honest. Like, I'm an atheist. I think we should get rid of religion. I haven't made that like the primary goal of like my work on YouTube or anything like that. My main focus is capitalism. I don't need to I'm not so hot on. I just think religion's bullshit, to be honest. I don't I'm it, And I think capitalism props up the worst forms of it. But yeah, I never said you can't. Jimmy Carter was a decent enough religious person, even though he was a bit of a shitty president as well. MLK, Malcolm X in some ways. I mean, it's important. It's important for those religious people. But at the end of the day, I think religion is far more compatible with fascism, because that is what it's shown to be time and again. Is that religion goes hand in hand with far right nationalism. I don't know if it'd be tragic to lose religion, but it wouldn't solve. You know, like I was saying, I used to think it would solve problems easier if we didn't have it, but now I know it's just the economic system that causes most of the problems. Yeah, but Hickman, religion has had a key. You know, who did the Pope back in World War Two? It wasn't like secular Christians. The Pope backed Mussolini. Pope, was it Pope Pius XII? But yeah, again, you know, I'm not a judgmental person at all. Be religious and be socialist. Totally fine. I wouldn't tell people to not be religious just to be, you know, anti-capitalist, socialist and stuff. Jesus is quite a good figure for spreading that message if you want to spin religion that way. But at the same time, personally, like as a personal opinion, I'd prefer a world without religion, because I think it causes way more problems. That I don't think it solves any problems. I think it just causes problems. Personally, it can fulfill some people and stuff, but I think people are just scared, like, of waking up to reality. Your life doesn't mean anything. You're not going to see those people who died again. But then the good thing is you're not going to be judged by some ancient religion. I'm not going to hell to be tortured for all eternity, because that doesn't exist. Apparently, to most people in the world who are religious, because I'm an atheist, I deserve that, to go to hell for all eternity and be tortured every day for eternity. That doesn't sound like something I want to be waiting for me. But I think a lot of people are just scared, because it's hard because, like, lots of people's lives don't mean much, or, you know, in terms of, like, they don't have meaning in it. Like, what do they think they're achieving? Some people have, like, horrible suffering, and they think there has to be something better than this waiting for them. There's loads of stuff like that, you know. People like my grandma, extremely religious, think they'll see their husband again. I went to my auntie's funeral on... It's funny, I went to my auntie's funeral on Monday, and I don't know if people saw I tweeted about her, because she was very, very, very big socialist. She was also a massive atheist as well. But she had a really religious funeral because my grandma just insisted. She's very old-fashioned. All I could think about when I was listening to it, I was like, my auntie was here. She would come up to me afterwards and say what a bunch of rubbish it was, because it was a very religious funeral. Loads of anecdotes about the Bible and talking about different biblical passages and everything like that. And then, you know, I just think, like, she's in there and that's just it. You know, no one's seen her again. She's not looking down somewhere thinking about her funeral. She's just gone. And that's just like, I think for a lot of people, and I think everyone has to go through it, it's a hard reality and it's a hard pill to swallow. Like, you know, I'm watching Vikings, but they all think they're meeting again in Valhalla. But in Vikings, religion is real. Like, Valhalla exists in that TV show. But yeah, for many people, they just can't accept it. And it's hard to accept. I get why. Like, my mum says she's religious, but I don't believe it. But I think she just wants the nice thing that you're going to see the people who've died again. But you just got to change your perspective a bit, to be honest, on life. Like, in that, the sense is that, like, in many ways, like, you obviously, your DNA and personality and all these things pass on to your children if you have them. And, like, you guys will know, like, your family slowly changes, where, like, when you're younger, you're the bottom, you're the youngest. You have your parents, aunties, uncles, and you have the grandparents. But then one day you're going to be the grandparents, and then you'll die. But then your grandchildren won't care that much. Where your children will. But it's like, you know, with my family dying, it's like, well, you don't care as much as the ones above you, and then it slowly just keeps changing and changing and changing. That's, you kind of got. And for me, like, when I play something like Assassin's Creed, you walk past, like, one NPC, and you're like, I'm less relevant than that one NPC I've just passed in the grand scheme of things. Like, my life just doesn't matter at all. But I think there's a lot of, like, there's a lot more comfort in that for someone like me, because, like, make the most of your life, because it's really short in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really matter. So but honestly, that's what makes me hate capitalism even more. It's like, what, you have this one life that's very short. You know, a lot of us aren't going to all live to 80 years old or 90 years old and die of, like, old age. We're probably, like, everyone in this chat is probably going to die at various different ages, for various different reasons. And it's just like, I don't want everyone's life to be slaves to this economic system where you have no power over your own life and your own fate and stuff. Which is what I realize more and more as I work. It's like, what is this? Is this what life is? Grinding 9 to 5 at a job you hate, traveling an extra 15 hours on a privatized train, getting two days a week, but you're mostly too tired to enjoy it. And what if you have hobbies? What you're just life just flashing before your eyes because you're so busy and stuff. So to be honest, like I think anti-capitalism is more compatible with atheism than Christianity a bit more, just because you got the promised afterlife. If you're a good person, no matter how hard your life was, you're gonna have eternal heaven. That sounds nice. Whereas for like atheists, it's like this is all you got, like right here, and you're gonna be dead one day, so might as well try and make your existence on earth a bit better. But that's what depressed me about capitalism in general. Like, I'm from a privileged position where we live in this Western culture where you can be more existential about it because a lot of your material, like, I guess, concerns are taken care of. Like, a lot of us, even though some of us would have, of course, but like a lot of us don't worry about where we get food from, or we don't work in horrible conditions for like $1 an hour or a day or something. But yeah, it's just like for me, like it takes a what, like most people don't ever think about it because they just don't really, especially when you're young. But for me, like I accepted it like a long time ago, like, and my girlfriend's a similar mind, and most people I meet my age are atheists, but like most people probably in the back of their minds hope it's not the end when you die. But like for me, like, think of everyone who's died in human history, like so many generations pass, and when you play something, I guess, like what's a bit of a mindfuck for me, if someone who thinks like this, in Assassin's Creed, when you're playing it, you're playing in present day, and you go to the grave of the person you're going to play, and they're just like bones in the ground. They've been there for like 2,000 years, and you're just playing it, and it's like, this person was alive, and now nothing they ever did mattered, because that's the end result. They're just there in the ground, like thousands of years later, and that's just fucking it. So stuff like that makes me realise, like, in a weird way, like how much you don't really matter and stuff. But yeah, I do like to talk about this stuff. Like, I love religious history. Like, it's so important to world history, and it's really interesting, like, topic to debate and talk about. But at the same time, for me, it's so ridiculous on so many levels. Like, historically ridiculous, doesn't make sense. Most of it is fake. Like Moses, for example, like the Moses story, it's just fake. Even because if you look into it, there's a word in Egyptian back then for slave, and they used to think it meant Jew, but it didn't. It doesn't mean Jew. So they used to base the historical story of Moses on that. These Egyptian, I think, texts or something said that there was this group of people, but they thought it meant Jewish people, but it meant slaves. So there's literally like no evidence about Moses and his like supposed escape from Egypt and stuff. But anyway, multiple levels, I just don't believe in it. There's nothing scarier than not knowing what happens after death. For me, like, it's just pretty obvious. Like, your pets die, animals die. Where do you think they've gone? They're just dead. It's like a computer, isn't it? And there is electricity in your brain, isn't there? So it's just like a computer being switched off. There's just nothing. I strongly believe it's just it. Like, you don't remember when you before you were born, do you? Why would you remember anything when you're dead? When I first became an atheist, it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that I never see my dad again. It's difficult to say leave. Yeah, it is difficult because you're brought up in a culture, no matter what country you're in, that believes there's life after death, but then, as atheists, you accept that there isn't really. I mean, I've never been high in my life, so I don't do that. I just think about these things, so I love history. I feel like my parents hate the Catholic Church even more for having grown up in the church. Katie, I think that's a pretty common experience for anyone who grows up Catholic, myself included. Yeah, Vortukas, I'm not saying all this stuff is contradictory to each other. I'm saying I think atheism is more compatible with anti-capitalism just because it challenges power structures, where I don't think I think most religion is subservient to power structures, and you're talking about like more liberal, socialist, religious people, but they're the minority. And even if we've seen through history that more progressive religious movements normally get crushed. Buddhism, yeah, but reincarnation. Do I believe in free will? I mean, I don't believe in free will either, which is weird. Mainly because I think capitalism doesn't give you the choice. Like you have the choice in the moment. Like I can do, I can eat one thing or another, or I can go do X and Y. Like I can, go for a run, or I can go to the cinema or something. But I don't think generally anyone has free will about their life's path. It's all where you grow up, who your parents are, who your family are, who your friends are, your economic situation. Obviously, capitalism, essentially, what choice do you really have? In a capitalist system, there isn't much choice for most people. So I largely don't believe in free will, to be honest. It's shit and depressing when you think about it. It's a bit liberating though, I think. Yeah, that sounds interesting, Singularity. I haven't heard of this YouTuber though. Yeah, like wasting a life doing some bullshit for 40 years. Yeah, exactly. How much you don't really matter. Yeah, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you obviously matter to the people close to you and everything. But in the grand scheme of like history, humanity, no one really matters really. Think of everyone we know from history. Like, certain cultures, everything about. Like ancient Greece was lucky; they wrote so much down, so you still remember Hippocrates, Socrates, Herodotus. These people who founded like medicine, history, and stuff like that. You still remember them, but think of how many millions and billions of people have lived that nothing about ever, and even like famous people from other cultures that were never documented, like Mayan civilization, so old and advanced in many ways for humanity, and it's like no one knows anything about it because I didn't write it down. I agree. There's nothing. It's very hard to swallow. Yeah, I mean, you have to accept that. I mean, I don't mind thinking about it in that way so much anymore. It just motivates me to make my life something better, I guess. Like makes me more driven, I think. Yeah, Tristan, my mum used to say it to me all the time. You're not really an atheist. She used to say I was. The ironic thing is when my sister was growing up, she's nearly 20 now. My mum used to say to me, "Stop brainwashing her with atheism." And I'm like, she's been brainwashed since the day she was baptized. I'm not brainwashing her. I'm unbrainwashing her. But how does anyone else know there's nothing or something after death? Someone would have to die and come back to tell us what the deal is. I mean, yeah, but like it's just one of those philosophical things. It's like you can claim anything happens. I can, like Buddhists, I can claim you get reincarnated, and you can say, well, you don't know that. But then religion tells you what happens. Like Buddhists say you're reincarnated. Christians and Muslims say and Jewish, no, some Christians say you go to heaven. Some Christians say you stay in the ground until Judgment Day and then go to New Jerusalem. Same with Jewish people. Muslims believe you go to paradise. So they have a very concrete view of what happens to you when you die. Or you go to hell for a lot of people. Or purgatory. Whereas like the more realistic one to me is like just with animals, bugs and things that are living, you just die and that's it. And I think that's just, no one can, well, you can't know for certain, but like you're probably going to get a bit of a shock. Well, you probably won't get a shock because you won't realise what's happening, but you're going to die one day and that's just going to be it. Like people were saying, you don't remember when you were born, you weren't like chilling up in heaven, then the stork drops you off or something. The thing is, for me, it's like the existence of a god figure is way easier to debunk than an existence of heaven, because because God is meant to be certain things, but then in the religion that created him, it's so contradictory. Like I'm saying, if this guy created the universe and is all knowing, and knows everyone's thoughts and knows the entire of human history and the universal history, it's like, why does he fucking change his mind so much? He literally is ageless, and yet 1,000 years ago, I have to kill Muslims to get into heaven, and now, like, I can have sex before marriage and get into heaven, and be really against all these fucking rules in the Catholic Church, and apparently I still go to heaven. Yeah, death isn't worry. Yeah, it shouldn't. You can't worry about any of this stuff. Like I said, like in our own heads, we all will all die as old people, from as natural causes as possible. But in reality, even the amount of people in this chat, there's just a variety of different ages and everything that you'll die, and illnesses will die of, and accidents will get into, and you just can't plan for any of that. And it's just like a whole chance thing, isn't it? Really. Which is depressing, because you'd like everyone to live as long as possible and everything like that, but then you just can't make your mind up. Like, you hear about awful things that happen to people every single day, like that family in Afghanistan, that drone strike. Someone's whole family just wiped out, like loads of children, and for what reason? This guy worked for a charity, but you just can't, just can't plan any of these things. So yeah, it's not worth worrying about. Yeah, singularity, and also you can't even remember when you were a baby either. Like, my earliest memory was 3 years old, I think. But anyway, just because I think I've got to be a bit more quiet now, I think I'll wind this down. But yeah, if you guys missed any of this, my hot takes about God of War, religion, and if you should forgive Hunter Avallone, or Hunter Avallone, I will archive the stream and hopefully get it up sometime tomorrow. There'll be a video tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to ask people. I'm just going to go at it myself. Basically, I'm going to make a hot take about James Bond, about a black female James Bond, and basically while I think it's good for diversity, I don't think it's something to celebrate, making this like film franchise, it's just MI6 propaganda, and having its face being a black woman, basically. Because you're just going to do propaganda? It's like a CIA, but make it woke. Those stupid videos about like women becoming leaders in the CIA, like Latino women or something, or Latina women, stuff like that. But I'll see. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the anti-SJW stuff, but I'm going to give my own take. It's like the aesthetics and everything. The woke MI6, yeah. Which is just fucking stupid. Like, the MI6 get away with a lot more shit than the CIA for some reason. Anyway, I'll leave it there. So thanks so much, everyone, for watching. I appreciated the donations, everyone who did the super chats. Only one stream tonight. Hopefully do 2 next week. And yeah, enjoyed this a lot. Streamed a lot longer than usual. And hope everyone has a good weekend. And yeah, I'll see you in the next stream or in the next video comment section. So yeah, appreciate all the comments today, and see you next time.